Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. You are listening to episode number 317. It is Wednesday, December 9th. It is the 12th month of the year.
That's right.
And this is the League of Legends podcast. We're going to talk about, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some patches, maybe a little bit of 0.24. So Serial's with us tonight.
How's it going?
Punch is here.
Hey, everybody.
And Chira.
Hey.
Hi, Chira.
What's up?
Going on, buddy. All right, so, someone in that chat asked, and I might as well say it because there's probably other people out there asking. Bad Administrator made our intro. So if you want, he doesn't really make music much anymore, but if you want to go support him, go find him as Vizix with an X, Vizix on YouTube. That's where he is. You can go listen to all his old music and then go bother him to come back to the scene and make more music again.
It's because it's all really good, so you should definitely harass him. He very much enjoys it.
Yeah, he loves to be harassed. Hey, Bad Administrator! Shout out to Guido from Just Okay Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed Monday's episode where we had the League of Legends Anonymous podcast on. Just Casual, their lead man, came on and talked to League of Legends with us, and he talked patch notes, and we are going to continue that patch note discussion tonight as patch 5.24 hit yesterday, which was the 8th, and we had started talking the PvE stuff, which was most of it. I think everything we talked about made it over to the patch notes. So we're going to start right at the top and talk about Anivia again. And we had already mentioned that she had a couple changes. Sorry, I thought I had it here. Trying to do it right. Oh yeah, her Glacial Storm was the only change because we had talked about there being a Q change and they reverted it. But it was a Glacial Storm they had changed where the maximum range is only 1,000, so the tether range breaks more quickly.
Yep, you can't run as far away from Glacial Storm before it just stops casting.
Which I like these. I like the PvE note better with that one because they said it was the tether range.
Yeah, it was more descriptive.
Yep, much more descriptive.
That kind of makes exactly the same sense, though.
Well, the maximum range you can cast it is 1,000.
Yeah, that's the impression I get when I read that. But
people,
I know better
people
since
also,
you're on the PvE.
There are some people that are like, okay, maximum range you can cast, but is that the same amount of range that you can move away from it before it breaks?
I was watching Bjergsen play last night, and people were asking questions in chat. He would just kind of randomly answer them, because tons of people are obviously going to go to him for patch things, like why did they do this? Why did they do that? And I felt, or what was he? He was talking about Anivia, and he goes, I don't understand why Anivia was nerfed. And the same thing we said, like, what brought this on? She has been like a mid-tier pick forever, even in competitive play, and like now they nerfed her, so I don't know what's going on.
Well, we have the
Riot's
reasoning this time.
It's Riot's way of saying this champion was secret OP, and you're all just bad for not playing.
Yeah. I mean, we speculated it was the Keystone Mastery was the reason.
It's just odd that they, I guess, preemptively nerfed, because you don't see that very often.
I don't know.
It's usually they wait for somebody to find it out first before they actually touch on the champion.
I don't know why they didn't leave Glacial Storm the way it was with the DFT nerfs in this patch, because that's still a dot.
I mean, it's a double slap now to the champion.
They double slapped a couple things.
Yeah.
If DeClaude was here, there'd be a good pun or joke. Double slap.
It's in there somewhere.
There's a Pokemon double slap, I think.
I know.
That's
And as soon as I said that, that's the first thing I thought of, a goddamn Clefairy double slapping the shit out of something.
Clefairy. Ashe got a change as well. Q, Ranger's Focus. Stacks required to activate went from 5 down to 4. So you can activate her Q. One auto attack more quickly.
Yes. Since they took away the ability to stack it with W and R.
So you have to auto attack just to get it?
Yep, that's the only way you can get it now. But I think auto attack focused marksmen in general are just a little weak right now. Not just Ashe. I don't think this patch really changes that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they touched a bit. They touched a bit of them. They touched a lot on auto attack heavy 80 carries and the DPS mages that we briefly touched upon when we covered Anivia on Monday. And I know what we covered the DFT changes, and I think they just wanted to kind of take a little bit of power away from each of those really strong DPS mages. Did that like individually on them in addition to the DFT nerfs. But yeah, I don't know what they're really doing with Ashe here. I think they're trying to make sure it's not too strong, because if you drop it to 3, that's a little bit. I feel like that's really quick that you're able to get that off, especially in early trades. Like, you might be able to get like a bunch of damage in lane if it was down to 3 stacks required to activate.
4 is probably pretty good.
Four is a good medium, specifically because Ashe right now. Ashe is Ashe, Sivir, and I think it's
Caitlyn's one of them.
Not Caitlyn, it's not what I'm thinking. I think it's Ashe and Sivir, the 2 80 carries that kind of fell behind in this patch. The lower range 80 carries that have more utility than damage in their kit, so they kind of fell off the face of the earth, really. And so you kind of have to give someone back to them without tweaking the damage of the items. So I guess pulling those little levers, we'll see where it goes. I can't imagine they're gonna bump like cooldowns or increase duration of slows or anything on her, though. So this probably puts her in a happy medium but doesn't push her overboard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just gets her closer to the pack. I think they're going to do more tweaking to 80 carries as the preseason goes on. I think this is just something they needed to do after their initial batch of Ashe changes for the preseason.
So it wouldn't be a patch without an Azir bug fix.
That's right. Oh, the best part of the patch.
Who is surprised?
Well,
I want four of
Arise, W. Arise, more bug fixes. Fixed a bug where Azir would command attacks before soldiers could attack. Soldiers can no longer cheat attacks if they weren't able to attack when commanded. Shifting Sands, Azir now moves with soldiers to their endpoint, even if he catches up to them while traveling.
That's cool. That's a quality of life mini buff, because it's the I don't know how to do the combo specifically, but the moving the soldiers as you're already moving to them to get a bunch of extra movement, either to catch them to somebody or get away. Now it's making it so that happens all the time, and you can't get messed up by, I don't know, going too fast on it. So I actually like that change a lot, even though it might have just been a bug fix. I think it's a pretty big one for like outplaying potential on Azir.
I agree.
Azir's
I didn't know it existed, but
I didn't know it was a bug,
but
like,
that kind of sucks.
Yeah, you would see it like, I've never seen it before, but I can imagine if somebody's really experienced on Azir gets really annoyed when that one time it happens. You're like, what the hell?
Or they don't make it behind their target, so they can't ult them the other way.
Right.
Yeah, or get away,
or you can't make it
like
over
that.
a wall or whatever it may be, right? I do know that with Azir, with the Thunderlord's Decree, he's pretty beastly in lane right now, because you can proc Thunderlord's Decree pretty easily between a Q and auto attack combo, and Stinger's pretty nasty on him as well.
I feel like we should cover the champions that we think are good with any other keystone besides Thunderlords, because we've just been loving it.
I can't think of any.
Like
I love it personally.
I tweeted earlier today, welcome to our Happy Thunderlord's Decree Day, because this is the day where everybody and their brother is going to start running that mastery. Like, there's no reason not to run it, almost, unless you're like a poke heavy champion or something. I don't know. Bard changes.
Would do pretty good with Thunderlord's Decree.
Hell yeah, he would, with an extra damage off of Meeps.
Meeps.
So passive, Traveler's Call. Meep base recharge rate has been decreased to 8 seconds. It was 10 seconds, meaning he gets Meeps more quickly than he previously did.
Which is really nice.
More damage, more slow, more AoE, more clear, more lane presence because you
More
have
annoying.
more Meeps.
He's annoying.
He's very annoying to play into. W, Caretaker Shrine. Minimum ratio is now 0.3 ability power. Maximum ratio is now 0.6 ability power. It was 0.45, so you can get more healing off of Caretaker Shrine with a little extra ability power.
Bard just got more annoying.
I think that Meep recharge rate is the massive buff here.
Yeah.
Because of how much damage you're able to output in lane with having more Meeps. Because the Meeps that's when you're trading, is when you have 1 or 2 Meeps.
And it's not like you're going to have a lot of ability power to take advantage of this small ratio increase during the laning phase anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 0.1 doesn't sound like a lot, but you're saying it's like a 50% buff of how much you were getting off of AP. But yeah, like you're saying, Punch, you're not getting any real AP that early on Bard. That 20% like decrease of recharge time. I'll probably go play Bard a little bit now and see how that
I think a
affects him.
lot more people are going to play Bard, and people who like Aphromu are just salivating.
Very happy right now.
Yeah, especially, you know what's great about this is the next champion we're going to talk about is Brand, who is the de facto poke champion, de facto bottom lane support that is doing really well, who's getting a nerf.
The world record.
Yeah, but there's, we've seen this a lot with League of Legends, is there's always that one champion that is stopping a lot of others from, having their spot in the limelight. And Brand would be that one that would stop Bard and others from being able to trade or be able to do the damage. And so now that we see Brand's Pillar of Flame have a mana cost increased, it used to be 70 to 90, now it is 70 to 110 at max rank, and you were maxing Pillar before. So DFT gets touched in this patch, like we talked about last episode, and Pillar now has an increased mana cost, making Brand much more, I guess, risk-reward out of the bottom lane, because you can't cast as many Pillars.
Yeah, it's really nerfing both mid and bot, and I think it's nerfing bot support consistently, like for the whole game, because you don't get a whole lot of mana regen in general on a bottom lane Brand. Mid lane does get they get Morellos, they get a Athene, something that gives you some mana regen usually, but it's at both lanes do max W first normally because of the amount of damage you get, and the CC doesn't go up on Q when you keep skilling it. So there's no reason not to go W. Now there might be a little bit, but I think people are still going to go it. It just means you have to be better at hitting those Ws than to just be able to spam them a bit more frequently.
Yeah, the threat of having a Pillar of Flame come down at any point in time was really the big thing with him. And if you, I don't know, Brand still has that, I can stun you at any point in time as long as you're ignited. So if you can push down any, like his Q into a W combo, you're stunned.
It puts more emphasis on hitting that combo in order to set up your Pillar. You can't go fishing with Pillar all the time now. Yeah. Whereas a support Brand before might just sit in the bush and come out every so often and throw out a Pillar and maybe hit you, especially if you're coming up to the last hit. And now, if they really want to win the lane, they're probably going to need to hit that stun in order to land the Pillar, because they can't just throw it.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that I know everyone remembers that Q, when it hits an ignited target, stuns, and E bounces to everyone. But a lot of people forget that W, when it hits an ignited target, does like 40% more damage.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. So if you can get off an EQ and then follow it up with a W, like that's going to be deadly. But it leaves him so much more vulnerable because the E range is way, way, way lower than W. So throwing out those Ws is pretty safe, gets you poke and a potential to say, all right, I can throw out a Q, maybe get a stun. But if you're going to go for the real combo that's going to do all that much damage, you need to throw out E first if it's single target, and that'll wreck somebody. But
that playstyle opens up some counterplay.
It does. It really does.
Thing.
Yes, that's actually that's something they touched on Anivia. Is they're saying we want her to be less safe as those like DPS but kind of safe far away range champions. So that's another thing they talked about with the leash range being reduced a little bit, which I kind of like.
Okay, so Brand, these changes, it's only a 5 mana at level 2. At level 3, it is 10 mana. That means you're only getting one less Pillar of Flame in lane within the first 3 levels. Because he starts out with 376 mana, and what's he gaining per level? So I go to level 2. I don't even know what he gains 20 mana per level, roughly.
Well, I think the difference is that
22 mana per level.
Deathfire Touch hits Brand harder than pretty much any other of the champions that got nerfed here. So I think they wanted to tweak it so they get a little bit of nerf on him, make sure that it's not over-tuning him so he just gets nerfed in the ground. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but we'll see once Deathfire... Like, I haven't played with the new DFT, and seeing how he handles it, like, it's still going to do damage, but that is a big nerf to him.
But really, what's the difference between Brand now and Brand last season when it's damage output? Because last season it was 3% increased damage with your keystone. We'll call it keystone, right? Your 21-point mastery. Now it's just damage over time for more harass to push somebody out of lane. So is there really that big of a difference when you nerf DFT that much?
When you're nerfing it specifically to hurt damage over time champions, yeah, because
but he was still very powerful last season without the damage over time from a keystone.
He wasn't though. He wasn't played that often
because
he wasn't.
It's because Brand was overpowered last season when it came to as a support. That dude wrecked face, but he was too hard to play because you didn't get as much damage unless you were landing your pillars. Now, if you landed a Q or an E and you had your dot ticking, you were doing a ton more damage, so that pushed him up and over the edge. So now I think he's really back to where he was in the last season, where he's still playable. He's just not overpowered. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you mean with this nerf?
With this nerf and the DFT nerf, he's still annoying in the bot lane. Those players that have practiced on him and played him and understand the combo and understand how to use his zoning tools can still use him effectively. It's just that Chira, who never plays support, or mages can't just go in the bottom lane and wreck face with Brand anymore.
Right. I mean, it's the difference between being like somebody who's really, really good with Brand being able to make something work, and then somebody who's played Brand a handful of times, getting one good ability off, and then effectively shutting out the enemy lane for X amount of time because it was overtuned damage-wise between masteries and the damage it was doing.
I'm going to be really curious to see how it hurts his mid win rate, too, because he's currently, at least by Champ GG, is number 1 in mid lane by a good 1.8%, which is a pretty big margin.
I can assume that's going to drop by
it's
at least
going to
1%.
drop. But it's also interesting to see that the top 3 are Brand, Malzahar, and Anivia, all who got nerfed in this patch, and all who are very big beneficiaries of DFT. So they're going to drop. A lot of the ones that are in the 5 to 7 range are also kind of in that same boat. So I'm real curious to see how this flips around.
But do we know about how long Champion GG takes to level out? Does it take about 2 weeks?
It says check back in 3 days.
Okay, so they take 3 days worth of data every time they post data up there.
I guess that's just their little note up here right now.
Yeah, this goes back to that conversation about Riot's patch cycle being every 2 weeks. It doesn't give us enough time to play around anything. Yeah, there's some things that need to be nerfed, but I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation.
Well,
sometimes I just feel a little heavy-handed.
At least for the preseason, it makes sense for them to do that because this is the time of the year for them to rush things down. When it's a patch every other week during the regular season, that's where I think things get a little too serious.
All right, let's talk about Caitlyn, because this is a pretty significant damage nerf to Caitlyn. Mm-hmm. She had her passive headshot attacks per headshot went from 7.65 to now just a flat 6. So she's doing more damage early and losing
better
damage
early,
late game.
Less late. And I don't know if anybody else has seen Caitlyn's late game damage with headshot, but if she crits a headshot on any squishy target, she just took away half to 2/3 of their health away with one hit. It's pretty incredible the amount of damage it does right now.
Yeah, I've been double headshotted before, and
just Riot says that they're bumping up early game at a small cost of the late, and I think they're underselling the effect on the late game. Yeah, it's not just one more attack for a headshot in late game, because you have to take into consideration the attack speed that you're having with all those items that you don't have at the start of the game. So you're actually getting a lot less headshots late game, and you're really not getting that many more in the laning phase.
The reduction is compounded by all the added stat benefits. You're doing more damage late, you're attacking faster late. With way less headshots, you're getting more headshots off late, so your damage gets ramped up like crazy once you hit a certain item point and a level point to be able to do the 5 attacks per headshot. This is definitely being undersold.
Yeah, I really don't care too much about the one less attack for the laning phase, because you could use traps in your E to set up headshots.
Sure,
which actually happen pretty often.
I mean, if you're going to be getting, I mean, if you only last hitted, whatever. If you only last hit the minions, you're setting up roughly, you're still getting a lot of autos in during the laning phase, and that's not including how much people are at least autoing early game. I think that might actually be a bit undersold. I think it could be you might not notice it. Yeah, in the laning phase, I think you might not notice it as much, but. That's you're getting
it's understandable that it's going to be better early. It's definitely going to be better early, but the nerf to it late does the nerf the buff to it early compensate for the nerf to it late, because the nerf that headshot in the late game is ridiculous right now. Yeah. So I mean, it probably needs a nerf which I'm happy about.
I mean, it defines her late game pretty much.
Right.
Well, I guess she can place 5 traps down at the same time now.
Which
That's something no one else can do.
Borderline instantly, which is crazy.
But besides that, headshot's really the only thing she's got going for her damage-wise.
Yeah, the pause is me kind of like doing math in my head here, and I agree with you. I was gonna bring this up. Sorry, I'm kind of like thinking through this in my head because I had some thoughts on it, but I don't know if they're correct or not.
Go for it.
Punch. You obviously are Caitlyn, man. You've been playing Caitlyn forever. Have you been playing much Caitlyn now in the preseason?
Yeah.
Do you feel she was in a good spot prior to this change? Like, did you like her comparatively to last season or the previous season?
I liked her better mostly because of the synergy between Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon,
which now you can't
doesn't
have.
really exist anymore.
Right.
And the trap change is really nice, but beyond that, I mean, without those 2 items stacking together, I don't really know if I'm gonna like her. I feel like she's outscaled by the casters right now.
Yeah, I was gonna wonder that because I mean they're changing Essence Reaver pretty significantly in this patch, and we'll get to that. But you still don't necessarily want to rush Infinity Edge because of the gold cost of Infinity Edge, and that was her go-to. Because once she finished, I guess, a BF and a Zeal, she was attacking more quickly, more headshots. I suppose that she could technically still do the same thing, but you're not. Are you building into that Infinity Edge early still with her? I mean, I guess she just. My point is she's ramping. She still has that same curve as she previously had, and everybody else has a shorter curve to get to their power spike, and hers is still the same as it's always been, because you have to have those big damage items to be able to do what.
Yeah, her build really hasn't changed.
What you're
in
doing
the preseason.
Yeah, I can't imagine without some attention to iEdge or other items that are not caster related. I can't imagine Caitlyn. This change being having too big of an impact on the amount of her win percentage or the amount of play she sees.
And I think
they're nerfing Essence Reaver. That's the one that you're talking about. The comparison, like that's bringing them back down and bringing her up a little bit. Plus, it's supposed to be her early game that they're working on.
It's still a lot of gold to get to that iEdge compared to the Essence Reaver. So your spike, the people are spiking before you are.
And they increase the cost of Zeal.
Excuse me. Yeah, and they increased the cost of Zeal, and they removed that interaction, which they needed to because Vayne was out of control. I think Twitch actually right now, just something to throw out there. I do think Twitch is really powerful right now as an AD carry.
Which is funny because I haven't seen him at all.
Yeah, he's kind of like
to touch on Mitch's point a bit, though, at the very least, what this will do is help Caitlyn zone out more often. Because every time the opponent sees that you've got a headshot, they back off a bit. And that's really what Caitlyn wants to do to control the lane, is zone you out. Or push you into the tower if you're Tristana. One of the two.
Wait. Dude, if I'm checking this, Infinity Edge and Essence Reaver have the same gold cost.
Did they?
Yep. But Essence Reaver gives more battle stats.
Yeah, I agree. It's changing.
So it's more of an impact early on.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next champion. I'm just writing down some notes here. Got a coughing fit going on.
Oh, again. Mundo.
Yeah, Mundo, the man who is overtuned thanks to masteries and plus the amount of damage he was doing. Yeah, Riot, what were you thinking with masochism in the previous patches? Can I just throw that out there before we get into this?
It was so good.
I remember talking about that. Yeah, I remember talking about that. And I thought they were nerfing it. Like I hadn't even read the note yet. We're on the podcast. I'm like, oh, they're finally they made it better.
That was. We spent so much time talking about basically going with, okay, is this a nerf? Is it not? It's way better. All right, it's definitely better. And then it turns out it's way too good. And then Riot's like, you can't do this anymore, Moon.
Q Infected Cleaver. Current health damage went from 15 to 25%. They changed some in-between numbers here. It was 18, 21, 23. It is now 17.5, 20, 22.5. So just rolling back the damage just a tiny bit by like a percentage and a half. Maximum damage.
They standardized it. Yeah.
Yeah, standardized.
It went from 3,322 to 2.5 all the way across the board per level.
Maximum damage to monsters was 300 to 700. It is now 300, 350, 400, 450, 500 significant damage increase or decrease.
For on later levels of this ability.
Yeah, but it was by level 3 when Mundo could clear the jungle really quickly.
Well, he was already one of the quicker clears right now between Cleaver and Masochism. Like his Burning Agony be damned, Cleaver and Masochism were really all you need to get through that stuff quickly, especially with the auto attack reset on Masochism. The extra damage that did, like I said in, I believe it was the last podcast, I've had quicker clears on Mundo and Volibear than almost any other champion right now. It doesn't matter if damage, whatever. They're just murdering the jungle. And the crazy thing is Mundo's not just good out of the jungle, he's a nightmare out of top lane.
Yeah. Masochism removed. I'm gonna wreck it. No longer works on structures, so you can no longer do extra damage. Man, that chunk structures too.
Yep. Huge chunk on structure.
Ratio is 5% of your maximum health. It is now 3 to 5%, scaling with level. They also removed the mastery where you gain percentage of life. You gained an extra percent based on your max health or whatever it was. They changed that to be a flat amount, so Masochism is no longer doing the extra amount of damage. It's still doing a lot of damage though, because it adds 100 AD at max rank. So.
And it still works as an auto attack reset, which is.
He feels like an early game bully with
He is an early game bully.
Masochism. It was ridiculous. I'm just headbutting people for 20% of their health at level 1.
If somebody isn't paying attention, and mind you, people are paying more attention because Mundo is really strong right now, but if somebody doesn't respect Mundo early and takes 1 to 2 Masochisms too many, Mundo just bullied them out of lane, and they're never coming back because he's just gonna sit on the other side of a minion wave and throw cleavers at them and do damage like that. And if you're good with those, you're gonna land them and keep chunking them down. And it's really at no deterrence to you because as long as you're hitting them, you're not losing any health for it. And then if they do walk in, you just immediately auto attack Masochism, and you just chunk them for 1/5 of their health. The early game Mundo is crazy right now, and with the nerf, the nerfs were needed, and that's coming from somebody who's been playing a lot of Mundo.
Yeah, I hadn't looked at math, but a quick calculation on just if you E'd somebody at level 1 without having, so E did that plus 5% of his max health, it flat 40 attack damage bonus, and without even getting the extra damage from missing health, you're dealing like an extra 70 damage at level 1. Mm-hmm. In addition to your basic auto attack damage. Plus, it's an auto attack reset. And so I really like that they dropped that to 3% early on. It doesn't sound like a lot. I think it's only an 8-ish damage difference at level 1. But it means that as you scale up, you're not getting as much. It's not that 1 point wonder where you would just get that 5% at level 1, which was stupid when you got to like level 3, 4, 5, when your health starts getting higher and higher, when you can benefit more from that part of the activation, plus any health you're missing. That'll hurt the trading a bunch. I really like that change.
It doesn't need the percentage of life damage on it. That's the thing, because it's already
it
adding.
gives you so much damage on, it gives you so much AD just on activating the ability. And part of this, like the 5% extra health, you're seeing third item Warmog's Mundos just so they can take advantage of that extra damage. There's a reason why you're typically seeing, Sunfire, Spirit Visage, Warmogs as soon as possible with things that are giving defensive stats and a bunch of health with each one. Adding some CDR on top so you can get more ease off more quickly. He's just been out of control.
I'm gonna ask somebody eventually. Why are we putting a percentage of maximum health on E when Q is already doing
percentage
target current health damage? Why does he need that much damage on somebody who's already unkillable? I don't understand it.
It became a situation if you could get one cleaver off and they didn't have flash or didn't have an ability to stun you or get away from you quicker than you could chase them, you could probably chase people to the ends of the earth and kill them within 6 cleavers.
Oh yeah.
And this brings up the question, are people going to max QE now?
I mean,
over Q 1. Wonder E. Well, I was maxing E second just for the way bonus crazy AD. But like, you have no reason not to max E second now because you want that 5% ramp up damage.
All right, let's move on to Echo. Recco lives. Passive Z Drive Resonance. Fixed a bug where Say Devour and other on hits didn't apply correctly. So
Hooray!
Hooray! He can do damage with his passive through other on hits. It doesn't really matter though because they're changing Runeglaive in the next patch. Sorry, Echo. Actually, I think Echo will be pretty good with it, but Hecarim's had a change where passive Warpath, the Ghost Horse, has been removed. He no longer ignores unit collision, just passively.
Poor Hecarim.
However, Devastating Charge, Hecarim now ignores unit collision while charging. So they want to make it so he's not such a bully in the top lane.
Now,
we are also his base health has been decreased by 19, and his health gross stat has been decreased by 5.
His passive without Ghost being on it and just giving him a little bit of extra damage for move speed, not that great of a passive anymore.
No, they touched
Especially
on Spirit of Dread in
Right.
and how much easier it is to position that when you can just walk through the creeps. Because hey, I'm in the middle of the creeps now, so you're absorbing all of the health from the damage that you're doing to all of them.
And the other thing too, it was easier to get off Devastating Charge and get past things in order to knock people back into your team or in a more advantageous position when you can run through anything somebody's standing behind, and now you actually have to move around other things in order to do that, which adds seconds on, and time either saves or kills in this game.
You could still charge through minions with E active though.
Yes.
Okay, I was confused by what you were saying.
Well, no, I mean you wouldn't always.
You can take like a shortcut through the minions to get to somebody rather than having to run
Oh,
around
and then
them.
activate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Devastating Charge's cooldown is pretty lengthy.
16,
Yeah, if you
18
use that
seconds or
incorrectly, you're
something.
effed.
Yeah,
24
so
to
I mean,
16.
There it is.
this is going to make better Hecarim stand out, and that they're not going to see as much of a. If they know what they're doing, they should be able to.
It just throws
stuff.
Hecarim back into the jungle, and I mean he's still pretty powerful. He's doing quite a bit of damage with his Q, but he still has the mana problems where he needs the first 2 blues to be able to walk through the jungle, even with the extra items. I mean,
And rushing Frozen Heart second buy.
I'm actually curious
Maybe
though with
first
the
buy.
assassin mastery added with 1.5% increased damage, if that doesn't help out Hecarim out of the jungle quite a bit, because I mean the dude does do a lot of damage, but that passive warpath kind of it hurts when you're ganking and you can't run through minions to get to somebody like that's in a bush or whatever it may be. I don't know. I'm not on the Hecarim hype train anymore.
I feel like
I've jumped off the horse's back.
the passive hurts, like you were saying, the top lane more.
Yeah, it does.
Most definitely. Now you can't just run through a minion line unless you're popping Devastating Charge, and let's say they can get away before you can reach them. Or it was easier to be able to run past something and activate it as soon as you got past them to turn around and smack them back than it will be now to pop E early to have to run the distance through something and then maybe not be able to get somebody charged, knockbacked, or whatever.
Well, so with the mastery changes, just don't jump off the train yet until Nocturne gets nerfed eventually.
Nocturne's my
You
go-to.
could-
Yeah, we had a thread today.
Just ride that train for a while.
I'll jump on the ghost back. Don't worry. Yeah, someone posted a thread today. I think it's the most active thread we've ever had on the subreddit. Earlier today, there was 54 replies on this one thread alone. There's 55 replies. Bread and butter champions people are posting in there, and he guessed our champions. He guessed Rumble for me, and then he asked me, "Hey, is Rumble still your go-to?" I'm like, "Nah, I haven't played top lane all season. I'm jungling now. Don't ask why. I just started jungling, and so I'm on the back of Nocturne, and I was the horse for a while, but yeah, maybe not so much anymore.
He can come back someday.
I'll probably still play him. I'll try him out
Once
with the
everyone-
assassin change on Thunderlord's Decree. I still think he can be
Yeah.
pretty good. Jig switcheroo. Fishbone's cast time was 0.32 seconds and now 0.28. Optimus Tom, who is our resident Jinx master, had previously mentioned that he thought there was something going on there, that it didn't feel as fluid as it previously did. Or he I don't know. He had mentioned that it didn't feel fluid recently within the past, I don't know. He didn't put an amount of time. He just said he didn't feel fluid, and now it does. So there's that, right?
So switcheroo is basically rooting you in place when you were using it.
Yeah, did they make a switcheroo change last patch too?
I thought so.
It didn't root you. It was just that you couldn't attack at all.
No,
for that.
the increasing
Fine.
Jinx attack frame when using Fishbones had the unintended side effect of rooting her for longer than attacking in minigun.
What?
Yeah, that was last patch.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was right
No,
there.
it's not rooting. It's not the switch. It's just when she was autoing, like to
Right,
get the
with-
auto to come
okay.
off.
Yeah, I thought it was the
It was
switch.
taking a bit longer. So now they bumped that back down. So because they didn't mean to do that. That wasn't something they meant to do.
Okay.
So that's nice. That's nice that they're bringing it back. It was the attack speed change was the thing a couple patches ago.
Right.
Okay.
That hit her.
So does that bring Jinx back in line now if she can switch around? I mean, it's not like a damage increase or anything. Is that just like
No, it
It's
just
a
means you can
quality of
orb
life.
walk easier. You can
Yes.
just orb walk like you used to be able to.
That-
Sure.
So from what it sounds like is that you would auto attack, but the amount of time between when you could move and when the actual missile was floating through the air, appeared that the amount of time it takes you to auto attack previously seemed faster, but it actually rooted you, so you couldn't. The animation wasn't lining up to the actual like
Right.
bullet.
You know-
so now they fixed it so that it's going to look like it takes you longer to auto attack, but at least you'll be able to know when you can move. So it's going to feel more fluid.
I'm curious if there's more champions that are having something similar happening too, because I canceled a lot of auto attacks in Hecarim recently, and a lot of other champions have been canceling auto attacks
been-
by accident.
I've been seeing it, and it's on a lot of champions, and I don't know if this is just something because I've been playing more of these champions recently. It's a lot of champions that they changed the auto attack range on for melee. So like certain tanks like Zac, who got an extra 100 range or whatever on his autos. Out of the jungle, I've been canceling auto attacks on Zac to the point where I will have tried auto attacking something 3 times, but I'm moving while I'm doing it, and I won't have hit it once because I auto attack. I see his hand go up in the air,
Yeah.
and then I immediately move, and it stops, and I'm like, no,
I
this
guess
is
I just-
not saving me any time.
I
This
guess
is
I just
doing the
have to-
opposite effect.
Retrain myself as to when the attack lands, because, excuse me, I was playing Hecarim the other day and I missed a kill on it. I missed a kill on a gangplank because I canceled my auto attack, but that's because normally I would move when I saw the blade swing halfway down. I knew the auto attack was going to land, and it didn't. I had to do the full animation to get the auto attack. So I don't know if there's an unintended change or some kind of bug here, or I'm just really bad, but either way,
No,
I feel
I
like
felt
it's
it
happening.
too. I had
Okay,
that
thank
problem.
God
I was
I'm not
playing
crazy.
Fiora the other day, and I always have that problem with Caitlyn.
Yeah, you did mention that before,
Personally.
that you cancel auto attacks on Caitlyn by accident.
Thought I fixed that.
They always say it's fixed.
Yeah, right. All right, so
Trinity.
Karthus, Wall of Pain, Wall of Discomfort. Slow drop to half effectiveness after 1 second.
Okay.
So if you're hit with it, you're slowed, then you can get out a little bit more quickly, which is
Okay. That's nice.
I didn't
For people
realize
doing it
that the slow's 5 seconds.
It lasts forever. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's also certain champions. If Karthus got that close to them, Karthus was dead, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
even have to run through the wall because he was dead, and the wall was behind them, and they just ran wherever the wall wasn't, and Karthus was still over there dead.
Yeah.
So if you do get hit by it now,
the notes sum this up
oh no.
exactly how I expect Wall of Pain to work, is that it's there for a catch or there for a deterrent, not for a AoE slow on a bunch of I mean, not like for like a crippling effect, essentially. Because I would always use it as I'm dropping it down to slow you, and now I'm trying to get, let my team catch up, whatever it may be. Before it was slow, and then you were walking on ice as you tried to get away.
Right.
It's not like a wither from Nasus. You don't want it to
Exactly.
be that.
Well, and from their wording, it seems way more like they want it to be used as, oh, somebody's running at you, drop the wall in the way, so if they run through it, they're slowed and they can't chase you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that plus just being able to, if you had somebody that's slowed for that long at a specific amount, like a significant amount, which started at 40% and went up from there, like combine very easy lay waste with something like Deathfire Touch, and that I think that kind of makes sense for more of the DPS. Like the DPS mid laner is still getting hit this patch.
Poor mid laners. They're just nerfing them so they can make them stronger in March when they have the
Yep.
rework come through. Mm-hmm. Kindred got a change. Wolf's Frenzy. Passive heal. Went from 63 to 114 at levels 118 to 43 to 94 at levels 118.
That's significant.
That just drops her. That drops our first clear, makes it a little bit more tougher.
Get out of
Well,
bot
it-
lane, Kindred.
It makes it so that
Yeah, get out of bot lane.
You can actually go in and maybe try and gank Kindred in her jungle early, and she's not doing like she could sit in her jungle and she's sitting at 3/4 to full health just from Wolf's Frenzy. The heal on it, and you've been playing a lot of Kindred lately. The heal on it's really good.
You know what's funny? It procs and I go, oh, I'm at full life. I forgot I had that.
As long as you're actually moving around, as long as you're staying busy on that champion, you can pretty much keep yourself topped off.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you're not going to be as healthy rolling around now.
I like to get out of bot lane or get
It's
out
the
of
same
mid lane.
effect in the bot lane. Like, all right, I've poked Kindred down. She's now she's at half health. God damn it!
Well, and the best,
That stupid healing.
seriously, she could, if you were poking her out, she could just run around for a second, wait for the
Yeah, it doesn't
passive to
take that
come up,
long.
auto attack something, move back to a safe spot, or run around for a second, run back in, get more health back, and it's pretty good.
They were
It's a
their
lot of
own
health.
personal health battery. Didn't even need
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
Built-in Sirach.
Lamb's Respite cooldown has been increased to 160, 130, 100. It's gained.
Increased early, decreased at max.
Yep. I didn't really feel. Have you ever felt that where Lamb's Respite needed an extra 10-second cooldown?
10 seconds is when you look at the total numbers, it seems I don't know, a little weird. The cooldown did seem short for early game, but I don't know if 10 seconds even make a big deal.
Man, I'm yawning like crazy now. I'm sorry. I don't know. It wasn't like it's a 120-second cooldown where it was up every time that you got done with a fight, went back. You know,
Or
when
it was
there
up
fight.
every jungle clear or whatever.
I never felt like I was using Lamb's Respite all that often, though, enough to warrant a change on this. I guess they're just trying to level out her early game a bit so that she has to take more risks when going into the enemy jungle. You know, because what is it after the first one is always the Scuttle Crab, but then after that it picks something in the enemy jungle, and it's usually their race. Is that how that works? It's usually their race, right?
I mean, it can pick if you kill the Scuttle Crab, it could decide to be your wraiths. It's just sort of random.
I don't think I've
except
ever
for the
had
last.
it be in mind.
I think it'll be on your jungle camps until you're at 2 or 3, and then it starts going into the enemy jungle. I think you can get the first 2, and at 3 it starts spawning in the
I've
enemy jungle.
literally never had it on one of my camps. It's always been the enemy camps.
You're missing out, man.
Yeah, I went a game. I went like 30 minutes at a game without getting a single stack. It was that.
Did
that's how
people
bad the
talk
game
shit
was.
to you?
Oh.
Yeah, then I eventually got 10% stacks because I started carrying after I got T-Force. It just took a while.
It like I've been in games with Kindreds, and if Kindred doesn't have like 5, if Kindred's at like 4 or 5 stacks by 30 minutes, people will make fun of them. It's like that's not exactly easy to build up stacks, especially if people are paying attention or they have somebody like Zillion or anybody who can deter death for any amount of
If
time.
the
It
enemy
makes
jungler is paying attention and can actually duel Kindred. Don't first pick Kindred. Every time I first pick Kindred, I had to go into like Lee Sin and shit. Like people who can Udyr and Lee Sin, people who can actually duel me and stop me from
Kindred
getting
will
stacks.
shit on Lee Sin if he misses Q, but if Lee Sin lands Q, you're gonna hurt.
Kog'Maw change. Bio-Arcane Barrage. Removed attack damage ratio. No longer deals 1.25% per 100 attack damage of the target's maximum health as magic damage. Instead, it now deals a flat 2% of the target's maximum health as magic damage. So giving him some power back into his W. You don't have to build AD anymore to get some extra damage onto it.
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah,
some...
I really like this change for him.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that you don't really see him very often, but I have seen him reach late game a couple times, and it's absolutely terrifying. He doesn't really need all that damage that he was getting from the previous ratio. He just needed the ability to get there. He needed something to help him get to that late game. Because the reason you aren't seeing him very often is because he usually gets shit on. And once in a blue moon he gets to the late game and destroys everybody, then it feels bad. So now he's got that little bit of boost in order to get to the late game, and maybe he's a little less scary as a hyper carry. Probably not, but maybe.
It's magic damage, though. Magic damage isn't something you can really itemize for stop, so bottom lane, mid lane.
It's just less percentage damage. I mean, it was still magic damage before, but
Yeah.
he was doing more than 2% maximum
If you
health
had
damage
more
before.
attack damage.
You have to have a lot of attack damage. I mean, it's 1.25% per 100.
Yeah, but you're starting at like
you didn't need
70
to
or
build.
80. If you're at like 70 or 80, you're dealing like what, 1%? You've now doubled that at early game.
Early.
Like that's going to help him so much going in, especially when you want to get a bunch of attack speed or T-force. I don't know what people build. Yeah, like you're saying you don't see him right now because everyone still thinks it's the super early game. Like games end so quickly that Kog'Maw is like would be one of the worst picks to make. So I'm not surprised he wasn't picked at all. He dropped to below 40% in 5.22.
I don't remember exactly what he built the last time I saw him. I know there was a Guinso's there. Ginso's.
Oh, yep. Ginsu's is the first
Ginsu.
one, or however you say it.
I played against mid Kog'Maw who rushed Ginsu's and wrecked face.
And you don't need to stack attack speed as much, though, since before the preseason, since it's W change.
Yeah, that's true. You get the double.
All right, we move on to Malzahar.
Yeah.
Nulzo damage decreased, was 4 to 8%, is now 4 to 6% of the target's maximum health. That's his W that he drops and puts you in his combo. I think the bigger change here really is the Deathfire Touch change in the masteries, not so much the percentage of life, because you weren't. I don't think you were maxing W, were you? Weren't you putting points into Q and E?
So I'm pretty sure you go E in almost any situation.
Yeah, you would, because it helps
yeah,
push the lane.
And in addition to that, it's I didn't remember this for a while. It's like Null Zone only deals max health damage. It doesn't actually do a flat damage at all. So that's actually kind of a big. It's a little bit of damage late, but again, not a first max anyway, so it doesn't really hurt him that much. But yeah, it's the same thing with Brand. They're trying to chip away a little bit, but making the Deathfire Touch the bigger thing. What is cool, and this is kind of important, is our next Champ Select podcast. We're doing 80 Jungle Malzahar, and W is really important there, but it's still only 1 point. So whoever listens to the episode coming up, still be able to play him. It's not going anywhere.
Excellent.
Master Yi just had a tooltip change. No big deal there. We'll push right past that. Misfortune Strut attack speed was 60 to 100%, is now 40 to 100%. That's her W. And Make It Rain Slow, 40 to 60%, now 28 to 60%. Just removing some raw damage and raw effectiveness from her kit and the bulliness or the amount of the something that she can be. You get what I'm saying.
60% attack speed at one rank in W was insane. That was necessary.
Well, yeah, when you just drop off a bunch from the early levels of both skill, yeah, it's making you pick what you really want to be going for. And I think that's cool because, yeah, that was really strong when you got so much out of 1 point in each.
It is cool, but I'm still maxing W second because I want the attack speed.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I don't think you would ever. I don't think you'd ever go for it. I don't think you'd ever go for East unless you have like such a high damage like support that getting a bigger slow might help them. But even then, I'm struggling to think of a time when that's really gonna. You combo that with Brand's W, and then that's it. GG.
Yeah, but to your point though, I mean that's what Riot is saying is that they want to present that choice. It's just that I don't think there's a choice there. Still taking W.
I agree. All right, so Nidalee buffs too. Javelin toss is now doing more damage. It started at 50, went to 130. It now starts at 60 and goes to 130. So there's more mid-game damage there for her Javelin toss. Maximum damage has also been increased early and into mid-game and then levels
out.
It's still the same triple max damage as before.
Triple max damage. Oh, yeah. Yeah. If it hits
at max range, you get triple damage.
Right. So they're trying to give her some more damage back so that she can jungle a little bit more effectively because she was having a harder time clearing the jungle with the way it was now. I think that with like the increase of like with the addition of Assassin, Thunderlord's Decree, and all that I could see more of those Nidalees coming back in the jungle, specifically with giving anybody increased damage on a what's the word I'm looking for? On a staple of their kit through Q that I don't think there's any reason not to start playing Nidalee out of the jungle now.
Well, I'm going to be curious to see how much the removal of switch from Runeglaive to the new magic jungle item goes. I don't know how that's going to hit her because she was one of the few who could really benefit from the quick spell cast to get Runeglaive off. I feel like
couldn't you just do Warrior into Trinity Force on her?
I mean, Warrior does scale with her attack damage does scale with her Q. So you, at least when you're in Cougar form. So if you're using it to assassinate with, you'll be losing a little bit of damage off of the magic damage you'd be getting from Runeglaive on your spear, but you'd be making up for it with finishing power on your Cougar form Q.
Sorry. 9 o'clock, I hear kids awake. I'm like, what the hell? Should be in bed! All right, Quinn. Quinn had damage increase, or decrease, sorry, which was quite a bit needed on her because her Q was a flat mana amount, and we had talked about it previously. We thought she was pretty powerful. You know, she's stupid. So when you give somebody a pseudo blind or a blind that's harder to play out through than smokescreen, that of course she's gonna be more powerful. So essentially, what they did is they decrease base damage, they decrease the ratio, and they increase the mana cost per level with her, making Q. Probably still maxable, still doing it, but she's not doing as much damage as often as she previously was doing. So bringing her back in line of where she probably should be as a mid laner and jungler, and not a lot.
And top laner and marksman. She would powerful enough to play it anywhere.
Yeah,
Holy crap, she was number 1 for top and AD carry this patch.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's pretty crazy.
Because you could because you still can chain passives.
Yep.
You wait for Harrier to land, Harrier E, Harrier Q. You get it. You get the idea. Rammus, they've had a change it here. Slow duration went from 3 to 2 seconds. Champion hit radius was 325, is now 250, and the escape from the minions no longer freaks out when you try to path around minions when powerballing. So bring Rammus to scale Rammus back down a little bit.
I hate Rammus.
Yeah, he needed it. That champion's real annoying right now.
Because of the amount of times that he can gank. Because doesn't he still have the same problem where he can't clear very quickly, but
he hasn't been able to, but with how good tanks have been right now, he can just kind of run in, Q you, taunt you out of safety, and then the laners just end up murdering you, and there's very little they can do about it.
Now, I know that the slow duration and the hit radius are supposed to be nerfs to when you actually hit a champion. What I'm curious about, because I don't play him that much, it says champion hit radius, so I assume that's Rammus's radius.
I would think it would be
hitting champions specifically. And so I was curious if it means that the radius for him to hit anything is smaller. Is it maybe going to be easier to get around stuff like minions that normally would mess with you?
Sounds like
yes, I think that would be kind of. I mean that plus the little quality of life thing might have been what they were going for to help balance out. Like that's a pretty big slow duration nerf.
Good. Hate that guy.
The slow duration doesn't really matter though, because you already have E, which is taunting you for 3 seconds at max rank or 2 seconds at max rank. So did the slow duration really matter?
Yeah, I was about to say how many people allowed 2 seconds to pass before popping E?
No one. It was Q. It was Q.
Just immediately
pop
get
up,
in
land,
there
and E.
Taunt
people with really bad ping.
Maybe.
That's Riven change base health regen has been increased to 5.4 from 3.4. They're trying to give her a little bit of something a little bit back so she can be played, but I think with the new Thunderlord's decree and Assassin, that's more than enough to get to
They
Riven.
change her health regen all the time.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey, is Riven too strong?
Hey,
Nerf
guys.
health regen.
Do you remember when Riven was at the peak of her power because part of her health regen was it was what, like 11.8 or some crazy shit? It was insane.
It was above
It was
10.
10.4,
for sure.
10.4, then 6, then I think 5.5, then 2.5, and now we're bumping it back up to 5.
I still can't believe 10.4 was okay. Like, I don't know who okayed that, but
No. I know what happened. They realized, they said, oh, she doesn't have mana, so let's put whatever mana region she would have had. It
On
just
health.
changed it into base health
Yeah,
regen.
sure, why not?
well, giving her a shield that stacks with a damage stat. All right.
Well, for
Great.
probably the majority of our listeners, this change means almost nothing.
Yep. For the great Riven players, it's going to be a nice little quality of health change.
Frosty.
Yeah.
Probably
Floss.
expect
Quality
it.
of health. I like it.
Quality of health.
Sivir ricochet damage has been increased. It was 0.5 to 0.7 and is now 0.6 to 0.8. 6. Giving her a little bit. It's the Ashe treatment, trying to give them a little bit back in their kit. And those are the two, remember, that I mentioned earlier, Ashe, Sivir, that I thought were kind of weak on this patch. So I think they're trying to give them a little bit back now that they've changed Essence Reaver, which we need to start powering through some of the stuff to get to
Oh my
it.
gosh, yeah, we're
Oh, this patch is the biggest ever.
And we don't have time because next week we have Skyen and Black Enola.
We have everybody. All right. All the way.
All right, fuck Skarner. because ratio has been decreased. He does a little bit less damage. Skarner got nerfed. Soraka, she got changed. Soraka has been nerfed into the ground. Everybody say you're
You have
Soraka.
Range on star call, reduced by 150.
Felicia.
It's now at
Jesus
800.
Christ, that hurts so much.
Makes it much harder for her to get health back. Cost on her W, Astral Infusion,
doubled
pretty
early.
much doubled across the board.
And the Grievous wounds, that's not that big a deal on Wish because they changed the way Grievous wounds interact.
It hurts herself, but yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't using Wish. You weren't generally using Wish to remove Grievous wounds for other people. So
Guys, I've got Grievous wounds up top. Cast Wish.
no,
you can also see. You can also see W having more of a health cost increase just because it's harder to hit Q now too.
Oh, it is. Yeah, you're right.
Yep, compounds things.
Yeah, Soraka just is no longer overpowered. I think she's going to go the way of the Dodo just because of the Star Call range and the increase on W.
And this is a champion that Riot always has issues with because when she's strong, she's too strong, and when she's weak, we never see her. So we might see this send her right back to we'll never see her. Very well could happen.
Swain never move. Root duration was 2 seconds flat. It now starts at 1 and goes to 2.
You have to max it to get the max duration.
Which probably should be the case for most disables in this game.
Good old 1.
This is probably my favorite on this entire patch. Tahm Kench Devour no longer gains movement speed when moving away from enemies while devouring an allied champion. So you run at your base movement speed after you devour somebody. Needed quality change. It was stupid that he could grab anybody and run as fast as he possibly could his way.
He effectively became a moving Zonius for whoever was getting hurt.
Yep.
Hit that guy too.
So there you go. Tahm Kench may not need to ban him anymore. I think that's a pretty
I'm still
good
banning
change. Yeah. Twisted Fate, they're actually decreasing the damage for that Twisted Fate does because they assume that he's been sleeper OP for a while, and they're trying to stop him from being picked right away by the players who are playing these OP DFT champions. A preemptive nerf.
He's the one I've actually seen.
I've seen him a
along
lot.
Swain and Anivia, the midliners.
Yep.
Xin Zhao just had some bug fixes. Ziggs, his passive damage structures has been increased to 100%. So you can use this passive more reliably on structures. We talked about jungle monster tuning last patch. We talked about the Rift Tail last patch. There have been some changes to items. So Deadman's Plate, the health has been decreased to 500. Ginsu's Rage Blade is now the rage area of effect has been decreased by 100.
100.
So you
It's
can
now 350.
It's the same as Tiamat and Hydra, or Ravenous Hydra.
as needed to be. And the reason I'm skipping over Ginsu's again is because
Just
Essence
talk about
Reaver is the... Well, I'm laughing because remember when we talked about the items, we skipped over Ginsu's and it ended up being the OP of the entire patch.
It was the best, yeah.
We're going to jump into Essence Reaver now, and I'm going to let Serial take the Essence Reaver discussion. Here.
Oh boy. So, as you guys know, Essence Reaver was... It gained 10% CDR and was getting a cool scaling stat that was... You get up to 20% CDR bonus for each point of critical strike chance you have from other sources. So what it was at 20 to 20%. Like if you had 20% crit strike chance, you would get a full 30% on your Essence Reaver of CDR, which is kind of ridiculous. What they did now is they scaled it back down so that it ramps differently, and they don't have the exact math on it, which is weird, but it now takes 30% crit strike chance to get the full 20% bonus CDR. So you need 30 to get a total of 30 CDR in Essence Reaver now. The one point that they've told us so far is that it takes 20% crit strike chance. So what you needed before normally, you'll only get half. You'll get 10% bonus, so 20% total CDR off Essence Reaver if you have 20% crit strike. Don't know the numbers yet, but yeah, I think they said the numbers are really weird, so it's potential we might not know exactly how well it works or how it scales up, but it's making it so you don't get that item and a half power spike where if you just had Essence Reaver and I think Zeal, you'd be straight at the 30% CDR right off of that, which is kind of really dumb.
Very dumb.
So scaling Essence Reaver back so that
I'm
doesn't
surprised
have
it went
as big
live
of a
like
spike.
that.
Yeah. Well, that's what same thing we said when we were talking about this. I'm like, you're gaining 40% CDR after an extra item. I mean, it had the unintended consequence of giving you 20% CDR off of buying an agility cloak, and that's better than anybody else can get. Those comparable stats.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know you guys have preached about free stats for a long time, and this is a big source that just kind of came out of nowhere. And so I'm glad they're toning it back down a good bit, and that might not even be enough, honestly, because you're still getting.
Yeah, I'm not really scared off of it.
all the
You're
free
still,
stats.
yeah, no, people I think will still buy it, and I think it'll take till like you like half the amount, like you get half of the crit strike chance is turned into CDR. I think that might be a safe point, but there's not a lot. I feel there's not a lot of champs that are casters that want that much crit strike and that much CDR at the same time. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where they eventually settle on it, and this might be that point. We're not really sure yet.
Well, let's talk about the last piece. I mean, we already said Zeal, the total cost went up by 100 gold, and the combined cost. So the combined cost went up by 100 gold, so the total cost went up by 100 gold. So it's a little bit harder to pick. Total cost of all items building out of Zeals are also increased by 100.
Except for Trinity Force.
Except for Trinity Force.
Good
which is
old
down
Trinity
100.
Force.
Because it's for different kind of champions than we're building. Like Essence
Corky
Reaver
is so happy.
Yeah, Essence Reaver Trinity Force is still great.
Yeah, Lucian and Corky.
Let's talk about what I think is probably the biggest change of this entire patch, and that is Farsight alterations change, because that fucking item was OP as all
It's so good.
stupid hell. So the cooldown was 61 to 48 seconds from levels 9 to 18 is now 90 to 60 seconds. They gave it 29-second increase on use, but it was better to have a Farsight alteration than it was to have a sweeping lens on you at any point in time.
Well, when you had a 1 minute cooldown on Clairvoyance that stayed there until somebody took care of it, that's pretty dumb. And the fact that they've not only bumped that cooldown, but the radius vision for the ward portion that stays behind has been dropped. That's kind of cool too, because it starts at the same. You still get the same amount of initial vision from Farsight, but then it drops once it goes to just being the ward. So, but the fact that you could put unlimited too, that's also insane. It lasts until somebody takes care of it.
Yeah, that item was crazy. Back to yellow trinket.
Back to yellow trinket. Back to. Yeah. I was actually taking that on a lot of junglers too to see if I could counter jungle or I could walk anywhere, whatever I could do. I love that item. Not so much anymore. Probably just go back down to 80 carries. Everybody else is going to take yellow or oracles.
Screw it, I'm taking yellow.
Well, I'm glad we talked about patch 5.24 last patch, because we still have a lot to talk about. Probably another half an hour of stuff that we could sit on, but we kind of touched all of it before. Happy Thunderlord's Decrees Day. Thunderlord Decree.
Yay!
So congratulations, everybody out there who would
is that
like
a new holiday?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this a new holiday. That's the today is this episode is called Thunderlord's Decree Day. Happy Thunderlord's Decree Day.
And we barely talked about it.
Yeah, we barely talked about it.
What a holiday.
I mean,
We talked about it last time.
you could make
talk
a
about
super
a lot of
cut of all of our last like 5 episodes of Thunderlord's Decree stuff, and
I love it
we'd
when-
be jerking
It's
it
good.
off.
It's good.
Yep.
I love it when
That's all you need to
Shiro
know.
sometimes talks, because he's just like, I'm so happy. Look at me. His little V-neck shirt. And his little
I'm always happy, dude. Hey, how dare you make fun of my V-neck shirt?
Oh,
We can make this a V-neck.
Sexy as hell.
Just cut it down.
we've already seen
I could
Mitch's V-neck.
Easily show my chest hair.
Wow.
I don't have that.
We need more of
Get a
this
little
during the
hot here.
podcast. Yeah.
Baby.
We barely made it through in like that much time.
I know, but it's funny. We get funny at the beginning and end of the podcast, and we're serious in business throughout the rest of it.
We need a drunk episode
Get on a
soon.
breast tick.
We do need a drunk episode.
We haven't done a drunk episode.
When are we done with our guests? Community episode's done.
End of January.
We finish out the community episodes by getting drunk for the community. Sounds great to me.
Well, okay, so just kind of like, this is kind of like we're talking, because we always kind of talk at the end of the show anyway. I'm bringing on, so next week we have Skyen on the 14th. Then the 16th is Black Enola. Week after that is Chris Alphanar. Week after that is hopefully Weldon Green. I need to fix that. Week after that is a Lola podcast, culminating into what's hopefully a huge event. If it doesn't, we still have another guest coming on. I've been asking for other podcasters out there, for other League of Legends podcasters and whatnot, to contact me so that I can bring them on the show so we can talk about other League of Legends podcasts. And so if that big culmination doesn't happen that same week that it should happen, we're going to have another podcast guest on. So essentially, I'm going to have guests on till this fucking happens. And yeah, it's...
worth mentioning, you meant the Lane podcast, not Lola. We just said that.
Yeah, sorry. The Lane. I apologize. The Lane podcast is coming on. They actually do all the MOBAs. They don't just do League of Legends. So Dota and Dead, whatever the other ones. What's the other one?
Tryhards.
Yeah.
Heroes.
Heroes, and there's another one. There's one for like the iPad or some bullshit that people play competitively too. Monty has casted it. I've seen before. I can't remember what the hell it's called.
I don't know.
There's some mobile one that people play competitively. But yeah, then we're gonna have a bunch of guests on, and I'm still trying to get dates and times right. I know we're gonna have a patron on at some point too, and hopefully in December. I gave him 2 dates to come on in December. If he can't, we'll get him on in January. It's just unfortunate that I decided to push this community thing the same month that we had a patron want to come on the podcast. But hey, that's what community is about, right? So yeah, that's it, guys. That's just kind of like a peek into what's going on.
Plug the shirts.
Oh shit, yeah, dude. DeClaude, that motherfucker, he can't play this game, and we
Get
miss
his name
him.
on your chest.
What?
Tattoo it.
I'm not tattooing DeClaude on my chest.
Well, how are you going to show
What
respect
are you, a
then?
pussy?
I already have one on my chest. Look, right there. That's DeClaude.
I saw a
was hot.
Trinity Force
I
logo,
didn't see a
not the
DRC there.
Yeah, so teespring.com/KingDC. We're donating all proceeds to the MS Society to help multiple sclerosis and help to fight DeClaude's disease that he has taking over his body. Is it technically a disease? What is it labeled as?
It's a disease. It's a neurological. No, it's a it's neurological illness.
Okay. Yeah, we've sold 81 t-shirts so far. You guys need to push this over to 100. teespring.com/KingDC. You have 12 days left to buy them. All proceeds, 100% of the proceeds we make are going to be donated to the MS Society.
It's an autoimmune disorder. Sorry,
There we go. Yeah.
but
So
it affects your nerves. So I guess it's neurological.
if you guys buy a t-shirt, I won't ever see that money. It'll never hit my bank account. Never hit, well, not my bank account, but it'll never hit Trinity Force's bank account. It's automatically
all going
there.
to the MS.
Well, it won't hit your
Society.
bank account either then.
Yeah, right. It won't hit my bank account. It won't hit Trinity Force's bank account. Teespring is taking care of all of it. They are donating it there. They will give me the refund. If people want, I'll post a fucking certificate on the website to show you that I did it. But I mean, it's got the badge and everything on there.
Yeah, I was about to say that badge looks really cool. Saying
Yeah.
it's all proceeds, yay.
Verified charity. So
100%.
if you guys also, if you have anything you want to help sell this, please shout it out on your podcast. Please shout it out to your friends. Just buy 1, 2, or 3 of them. I mean, you're helping DeClaude out, dude. We miss that guy. Sean and I today were trying to get him on the LCS rundown for God's sakes because we miss him so much.
If he can't play, he can watch.
Do it, DeClaude. Yeah, I messaged him. He's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm like, damn it, DeClaude. All right, that's it, guys. That's episode number 317 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you so much for listening to us, and please enjoy the patch rundown that we just talked about. And Monday we'll have Skyen on. So,
Ooh.
peace.
See you guys.
See ya.